All right, for the next few minutes, we're cracking open a file that was never, ever supposed to see the light of day. We're going to declassify the story behind a shadow op called the Iron Circle. Yeah, it's a name that's only whispered in the darkest corners of power. And here it is, the file itself. The warning couldn't be clearer. Handle with gloves, burn after reading. Look, this isn't some kind of theoretical what-if scenario. Nope. This is a real deal, tactical debrief of an operation that literally redrew the map. So, what's the driving force behind all of this? It's this number right here, $100 billion. I mean, just let that sink in. It's a contract on a scale nobody has ever seen before. That's not just a paycheck. That's the kind of money to use to fund, fight, and yeah, win your own private war. And the guy dropping that bombshell, that's Rex Steele, the team's enforcer. His words pretty much kick off this whole insane story. This is all about the elite crew who looked at that $100 billion job and said, yeah, we'll take it.
So $100 billion. You gotta ask, right? What kind of mission costs that much? Well, it's not just one mission. It's way bigger than that. It's about grabbing the future by the throat.
The whole operation boiled down to 3 game-changing assets. The kind of stuff powerful people would do anything to get their hands on. First up, a huge untapped oil reservoir sitting on sacred land. Next, an entire country's strategic stockpile of gold, uranium, and something called Movidar. And get this, the third prize is something straight out of a comic book, a literal mind-reading, wall-seeing liquid. Yeah, the stakes really don't get any higher than this. But here's the genius part. The strategy wasn't just to go in guns blazing. No, that's too simple. The Iron Circle's job was to stir the pot until every shark eats every other shark. Think about that. They were hired to create such perfect, targeted chaos that all their enemies would just take each other out. They weren't there to win the fight. They were there to rig the entire game so there was no one left to fight. So, to pull off a plan this complex, this brutal, you can't just hire any old crew of mercs. You need something else entirely. You need a ghost team. A weapon so deadly, no one even knows it exists. Let's meet them. Running the show, you've got 2 people at the top, the command structure. On one side, Claudia Reid. She's the strategist, the boss lady, calling the shots from the shadows. And on the other, you have Rex Steele. He's the muscle, the 260-pound enforcer. Simple, right? She's the brains, he's the brawn. And the official description of Rex Steele? It pretty much says it all. A statue carved from granite and bad decisions. You just know this is the guy you don't want to mess with. He's the first one through the door, and for his targets, yeah, he's the last thing they'll ever see. And the rest of the team? Just as lethal. This is a hand-picked crew of absolute specialists. You've got Priyanka, the master of seduction and close-quarters combat. Milk, the long-range sniper who never misses. Cookie, a hacker who's basically a digital ghost. Yeesh, the expert in poisons and silent kills. And then there's Kala Lightfeather, a heavy assault expert they just call the mountain that walked. What a lineup. Okay, so the team is assembled, the mission is clear. The Purge begins. And let's be real, this wasn't just a string of hits. It was a perfectly executed campaign of surgical terror. The whole point was to create as much confusion and chaos as possible. And they started fast. I mean, staggeringly fast. The first 3 major targets were taken out in just 72 hours. And each hit was designed to look completely different from the last. The goal, pointing fingers everywhere, except at them. Hit number 1. The key here was deniability. Priyanka, the seduction expert, gets close to this lobbyist, Darth Vax, in his fancy Manhattan penthouse. But the kill, it's staged to look like, well, an accident during a private moment. It's intimate, untraceable, and designed to be embarrassing. So embarrassing that his allies would rather bury the story than investigate a potential murder. Genius. And her report back to command? Just 3 words. He died happy. Says it all, doesn't it? Mission accomplished. So, the next day, they completely changed gears. They went from a silent whisper to a loud scream. Milk, the sniper, takes out Senator Big Hal from nearly 1,500 yards away. That's so far you literally have to account for the Earth's rotation. And unlike the first hit, this one was loud, messy, and designed to plant evidence framing their client's rivals. Total misdirection. Okay, so they've done a quiet kill and a loud kill. What's next? Well, they escalate. Big time. They move on from targeting just people and start going after the very infrastructure of corporate greed in the heart of Washington, D.C. And the result? A massive car bomb that turns Constitution Avenue into a fireball during rush hour. Can you imagine the chaos? The psychological impact was off the charts. Panic starts to spread, the paranoia kicks in, and those shirks, they start turning on each other, just like the Iron Circle plan. This level of violence, this incredible precision, and all that money, it all leads to one single massive question. Right? You've got to be wondering, who would fund a private war on this scale? Who is the ghost client behind that $100 billion contract? Who has that kind of money, and more importantly, the motive to do all this? Well, his name is Numad Haqqadesh, and he's a ghost billionaire. His very existence is one of the world's best-kept secrets, and his story, it was forged in fire. See, Numad was born to a Saudi prince and a Blackfoot princess, but when he was just 9 years old, he watched his whole family die in a palace fire, a coup. His mother's last words to him were, "Run to the land, protect it always." So that's what he did. Raised on a reservation, he spent his entire life building a silent empire, all for one reason: to get justice and protect the very land those corrupt corporations were trying to steal. So with the first wave of the purge complete, Dragarm Oil is in shambles. The mission, phase 1 anyway, was a huge success. The entire board has been wiped clean. But for a crew like the Iron Circle and a guy like Numad Haqqadesh, it's never really over, is it? Justice isn't some destination you arrive at. Like Claudia Reid says, the board's reset, bodies waiting, it's just a continuous operation. So this particular file might be closed for now, but as you see those 7 armored trucks driving off into the distance, you can't help but wonder, right? What happens when the Iron Circle gets its next target, and who will it be?